Duke went to UNC and won over the weekend. UNC, everything that needed to go their way in the first half kind of did go their way in the first half. You're not going to hold Duke to 0 points, but you got Cooper Flagg in foul trouble. RJ Davis turned back the clock. There was a lot of good. Duke led by 1 at half, which did set up just an electric second half, but it also did feel like, well, you're going to need a lot of that stuff that seems unsustainable to continue happening. And as soon as they slowed down, as soon as Cooper Flagg was out there more, Duke goes on a run, ends up winning the game in control. Second half felt a little, I would call it, inevitable. That's not to say there wasn't good for UNC. The good, I called out Drake Powell to do some work on Cooper Flagg defensively, and sure enough, he drew a Cooper Flagg offensive foul well outside the 3-point line. That is a 6'6" athlete taking the initiative, taking the challenge, and guarding what I believe is the National Player of the Year far away from the bucket. As I said, RJ Davis had me thinking he didn't have a down shooting year. He was just saving all his makes for Duke in the finale. I shot 27% or whatever it was in the first 10 games, but I was just stockpiling makes to break them out in the last game of the year on senior night and ruin Duke's night.
Backlogging it.
Yeah, we're going to get our makes this season. There's all going to come in one game. Obviously, he had the cramping issues in the second half and wasn't nearly as effective after. But that was really fun, and I say this all the time. Senior nights are cool when seniors have big games. So UNC had some good. The bad was there was an obvious talent discrepancy in that game. And for UNC to ever have an obvious talent discrepancy against anyone, maybe they were a little bit more talented, but there should never be a gap between UNC and everyone else. You're North Carolina. That's unacceptable. That's recruiting, that's talent evaluation, that's transfer portaling, that's everything. Right? Because you could even look at something like just Duke UNC, just line them up next to each other. They both went and got veteran transfers, right? They went and got guys that had played in college basketball for a while. Duke had Sion James scoring double figures and being super active. UNC had Cade Tyson, who hasn't really been able to work his way into the rotation most of the year. Right? Those little things happen. Van Allen Lubin, he's a solid player, but never really a major impact player for them. It's talent evaluation. It's choosing where to spend your resources. It's choosing who to bring in. Duke, on the other side, Cooper Flagg got in foul trouble and it didn't ruin them. I think that's actually a really good thing for Duke. I've been saying it all year. What happens if Cooper Flagg gets in foul trouble against a really good team? What happens if one of their main straws that stir the drink get hurt or tweak something or cramp or something makes their availability? You don't want to hypothesize too much on the bad things that could hamper someone's availability. But if it happens, are they ready? Cooper Flagg foul trouble early and it didn't ruin them. They stayed the course. They actually improved a little bit initially when he went out. UNC went on a run at the end of the first half, but they came out on the other side unscathed. Jon Scheyer, talking to the media, talked about facing adversity and how that might be a good thing.
I thought it was incredible to go through. And I even said that at halftime to our team. That was the first thing I said was, this is great. And I think that's the first time because, I've been taught very early on in my playing career here. I mean, just we're always preaching inflection points in the game, and end of half is one of them. I know that's the first time I've ever been positive, after a half, closing it where, we were up 15 and they cut it to 1. But I knew we needed it. Was the best thing for us. And even the start of the second half we went down 7. Yeah, to go down 7 and claw our way back. It was a real, You test your trust in those moments with each other, and we showed we have great trust in that situation.
So Jon Scheyer's a little bit of that like psycho on the team, that crazy person, right? Coach is making you run laps, coach is making you run gassers. You're 9 in, and one guy's going like, "I love this. This is great." So all right, there's Jon Scheyer, right? You had a double-digit lead. It gets dwindled down to 1 at half. He's at halftime going, "This is great, guys." It's like, whoa, coach. We're only up ahead by 1. We were ahead by much more than that a few minutes ago. What do you mean this is great? But I agree with him. I agree with him that team hadn't faced much adversity recently, and being in your rival's arena, crowd going bonkers, they're on a run. RJ Davis is knocking down everything. How are you going to react? And they found a way to win. Knipple had a big game. Proctor had a big game. Sion James had a big game. Cooper Flagg had a big second half. Malik Brown, how about that? Knocking down 2 threes. Everybody gets to bring up the clip from John Shire telling him in the preseason to shoot more threes to keep the defense honest. Caleb Foster, how about that for not only a call from Shire to throw him in the game, but then for Caleb Foster to maximize it?
Especially in a tight situation. He didn't even play against Wake Forest.
DNP did not play coach's decision in their most recent game, and then he goes out there, gets thrown into a absolute chaos fest in the second half of that game, and one bucket a tough bucket driving, flexing for his own team, getting everybody jacked up. That's a great call by the coach, and great. Talk about trust, honoring that trust from Foster. It's just a good day. That game does, and after this we'll get to your calls. That game does back UNC into a corner. They need to do something special in the ACC tournament to make it. I still think the minimum is make the ACC championship, which would include a win over Duke. That's how you make the NCAA tournament. Hubert Davis was asked if they're worthy of the NCAA tournament.
Well, there's just no question. In combination with the strength of schedule we played in non-conference and in conference in terms of the top teams in the ACC, and playing all of them on the road with the exception of Duke here at home, and we played them at their place. I think we're 5th in the ACC, and to win 13 games and to overall already have won 20 games, I'm just really proud of this group.
Here's the thing, and this is and we're going to hit 2 minutes of gold here talking about the hockey over the weekend, because that was crazy also, the win over Winnipeg. Here's my last take on UNC. The last 7 games frustrates me even more about that team. Because everything Hubert said, obviously they're an NCAA tournament team. Everywhere except for the resume that actually gets you into the NCAA tournament. Talented enough, big-time players. You've shown against a team like Duke that you can stick with them for large stretches. You've beaten the teams you should beat over the last 7. So there's no doubt in my mind you should be an NCAA tournament team. But if the tournament started now, you're not. That's the frustrating part.